Hi, all. Welcome back to What to Expect When You're Transitioning. And, this is what now, the third in a series of what I hope is going to be a bunch of videos addressing some issues that aren't out front, but I wish that somebody had said, hey, in the first couple months, hey, knucklehead, remember I'm genetically thick-skulled, and therefore, instead of a compassionate, hey, what you thinking? I need a compassionate, hey, knucklehead, with a good slap upside the head. Maybe you should think about this. And this, I actually discovered, and unfortunately, I discovered, four and a half years into transition, was the most cost prohibitive, longest duration part of the transitioning process, and that is permanent hair removal. Now, everybody's looking up here and going, yeah, there's a lot of permanent hair removal up there. No, I'm not talking about that. I actually am one of these people who was, how shall we say, blessed with the ability to grow hair just about everywhere on my body except the top of my head. And we'll get into the top of the head issues later, because that's another one that I wish I had really. Actually, I saw that somewhere, but I didn't focus on it, and I wish I had. But the body hair everywhere except the top of the head. And body hair, for most of us who are born with a male body that goes through a male puberty, comes in, again, four varieties. As my dad used to describe it, the first variety would be the football player's mustache. 11 men on either side of the field. Not a lot there. Then there's moderate. Then there's heavy. And then there's, me. I look like pretty much a bearskin rug on a good day. On a bad day, I make chimpanzees jealous of the amount of body hair I can grow. In fact, I go down to the shore on a humid August day, and I get off my beach towel and, take off the t-shirt and walk to the ocean in my bathing trunks. And at least two people, usually closer to five, always mention to me, hey, dude, you can lose the bearskin sweater and pants before you go into the ocean. It is August. Yep. As I said, I grow hair everywhere except the top of my head. And, for all of us in a guy's body at 12, 13, I forget the exact age, Dad takes us into the bathroom, shows us the razor, the shaving cream, and teaches us, down, up, left, right, get a good close shave, how to get a good close shave, and then, maybe later on we learn about that wonderful item called an electric razor that you don't have to stand in front of the mirror and experience gender dysphoria as you're looking at your face because you don't trust yourself to use a sharp object that can cause a lot of nicks and cuts without looking in a mirror. So the electric razor, for those of us with gender dysphoria, is pretty much one of the greatest inventions since sliced bread. But it doesn't get quite as close. But good enough for government work, because when you're presenting as a guy who really cares about a little 2:30 in the afternoon shadow instead of 5 o'clock in the afternoon shadow. It's a little shadow compared to a lot of gender dysphoria in the morning, looking at your face in the mirror. That worked pretty darn well for me. I loved electrics. I discovered electrics when I was around about 21, and never looked back, really, until I figured out I was transgender and realized that electrics don't just quite cut it for getting close enough if you want to wear makeup. You know, that 2:30 in the afternoon shadow under the foundation, that's not a look you want to be rocking. But anyway, so the second thing that I always wish somebody had taught me when I was 21, because I could have been rich as heck, was I discovered conditioner. You know, when you become transgender, you start to play around with all these fun things like fun smelling shampoos and fun smelling conditioners that, yeah, conditioner, you know, you try it a couple times. But a funny thing happened. I tried conditioner a couple times, and then I shaved in the shower, and I realized conditioner works 10 times better than shaving cream and getting a really close shave. Whatever chemicals there are in conditioner, believe it or not, cause that razor to glide right over those hairs and nip them off right at the skin without causing hardly any cuts. And the more transgender women I've talked to, about 50% of them have discovered it too, and they're like, and we're all like, dang, we wish we discovered that years ago, because instead of spending, what, $5 on a can of shaving cream every 2 or 3 months, I have a bottle of conditioner that I bought for $2.50 at the grocery store on sale that's lasted me 7 years. No kidding. I still got a quarter of that puppy left. 7 years, $2.50, tons of shaves. Haven't spent a dime on shaving cream since. I wish I'd been 21 and come up with my patented shaving gel, where I could have sold everybody a $7 bottle of shaving gel. You know, there's what, 200 million adult Americans. If I could have sold 100 million of them a $7 bottle of shaving gel, you know, 50 million men and 50 million of you women, cisgender women who have to shave your legs and you use feminine shaving cream, that stuff is more expensive than the stuff they charge us to put on our faces. I can't believe the way they rip you off. But let a little conditioner run off your head and your full head of hair and down your legs, and whoop, whoop. No problem. No need for shaving cream on the legs anymore. If I could have made $700 million selling it to half of the adult Americans, yeah, I think I could have survived. And, you know, $700 million, I could have made that last 50 years with maybe having a little bit left, not wasting it all. But yeah, so conditioner. But anyway, back to hair removal. There's really, as far as body hair, facial hair, and then the rest of the body too, I have a bit of insecurity about my body image. So none of you are seeing me underneath the shirt that's buttoned up to the neck, because I don't want you to see the bare hair sweater underneath. That's just me. So trust me, it's there, and it's half gray by now, because I got old before I figured out who I was. So there's 3 choices really to dealing with the body hair. First choice is to ignore it. You know, grow your redneck beard and mustache and go down to the beach with your bare hair sweater and sweats. Yeah, for those of us with gender dysphoria, that doesn't quite cut it. Even those of us with kind of moderate moderate, or even those of you who have maybe moderate or light gender dysphoria, I don't think a redneck beard is going to quite cut it, but ignoring it is potentially a valid answer if you can live with it. If those of you who've figured out you can live with it, and actually within the last week, I saw somebody who was genderqueer in a store, and they were presenting in female dress with a mustache. And I was like, good for you. I didn't want to say anything to them because I didn't want to embarrass them, but I was like, good for you that you can feel comfortable expressing that way. And so I'm not going to say to anybody who feels comfortable expressing in whatever way you feel comfortable expressing in that it's not valid for you. Because guess what? We're going to go back to the first video, and I'm an expert in what's valid for me. You're an expert in what's valid for you. And I will not denigrate you by questioning your validity, just as I expect you not to denigrate me by questioning my validity. So, ignoring is a potential option. Probably not a great option for most of us, but it's there. Second option is temporary removal. Going in front of the mirror every day with the razor and, conditioner in my case. Very good close shave up and down, left and right. And if I want to throw makeup on in the morning, up and down, left and right, good close shave. And then 5 o'clock, remove the makeup, up and down, left, right, good close shave. If I want to go out at night and makeup, because even at 5 o'clock with foundation and beard concealer underneath the foundation, the shadow shows. So, temporary also covers the rest of the body too. So, on the face, temporary is, you got a couple of choices: shaving or a couple other options, which we'll go into later, which aren't really great options. I've had a couple people who've told me it worked for them, but a lot of people it didn't really work for. But the rest of the body hair, and for me, the face shaving does work. For me, the rest of the body hair, I got a problem. You don't just shave the level of body hair I have. You first mow it, then you weed whack it, then you trim it, and then you finally shave it. Yep. Heavy. And it grows back quickly too. It's not like shaving the legs once a week. It's shaving the legs every couple of days, or the stubble is kind of fierce. So that's the first thing, is temporary hair removal. And again, this comes to critical thinking, not criticizing thinking. Hairy chimpanzee, ape-like, looks like a bearskin rug. And yes, I call myself a bearskin rug, but be that as it may, I kind of enjoy poking fun at myself at times, because otherwise I start taking myself too seriously, and it's kind of annoying. Actually, if I take myself too seriously, I find other people find it really annoying, and I find it kind of annoying, so I will poke humor at myself. But criticizing thinking, ape-like, chimpanzee-like, looks like a large furry mammal. No. But critical thinking, what level of body hair do I have? Grows back fast, thick, heavy. That's critical. Maybe grows back medium fast, kind of thick, not too heavy, or grows back kind of slow, not too thick, not too heavy, or, as my dad used to say, football player's mustache, Not much there, doesn't go back too fast. Those of you who are in that boat, I am so freaking jealous of you. I really hate it. But, okay, I got that out of my system. So, as I said, I'm coming at this from somebody who ended up with a bunch of challenges, and this is a challenge I looked at. So, the first issue is, as I said, for me, it's mowing, weed whacking, trimming, and shaving is my first choice for temporary hair removal. Second choice is, believe it or not, epilating. And epilating is an epilator looks like a electric. For those of you who don't know it, it looks like an electric shaver, but instead of a bunch of blades rotating beneath a foil, it's like three or four pairs of discs, excuse me, rotating against each other. That as it rolls over your skin, actually grabs each hair and rips it out by the root. Shaving, other than the fact that it can cause nicks and cuts, is really unpainful. Epilating, yep, pulling that hair out. That could hurt. In fact, the first time I tried an epilator, I was like, took a couple Advil, 3 or 4 glasses of wine to get really well buzzed. So I really wouldn't mind the pain. Ran the epilator up my leg and was kind of glad I took the 3 or 4 Advil and was a little buzzed because it stung on the lower leg up to the knee. And then it started stinging more up about 3/4 of the way up the thigh until I finally was like, we're kind of getting into not 3 or 4 Advil, but maybe a couple of Percocets. You know, I broke an ankle once, and I got Percocet for 3 or 4 weeks until the doc said, no more for you. The ankle's healed well enough. You can live with Advil to cure the pain, which was nice of him because I didn't get addicted to opioids. And thank you, doc. That was one of the best things anybody's ever done for me, was make sure I didn't get addicted to opioids. But I was like, 3/4 of the way up the thigh, I was like, ooh, that's kind of painful. And I started working on my arms, around the wrist. And again, around the wrist and the back of the hand. I was like, yep, I was glad I had some wine and a few Advil because it stung. But, by the time you're a little buzzed on 3 or 4 glasses of wine and the pain's kind of a little diminished by the Advil, didn't really matter until I got about 3/4 of the way up past the elbow up to the shoulder, and it started stinging again. And then everybody gets 3 guesses, and the first 2 don't count as to what I did next. I went and said, well, I wonder what it feels like on my stomach. I took the epilator to my stomach, and I realized after about half a second that a couple Advil was nowhere near enough. A couple Percocet wasn't going to touch that pain. That was like half a bottle of Percocet pain. I screamed like a little girl. That was so freaking unpleasant, to put it mildly. And I realized that, at least on my torso, that epilating was not going to work too well. And actually, for about 2 years, believe it or not, up to 3/4 of the way up my legs and 3/4 of the way up my arms, I'd run the epilator up it, and after 3 or 4 tries, I didn't even need the Advil or the wine anymore. It was like, nothing. And I get it, everybody has a different pain threshold. For me, my pain threshold kind of started about 3/4 of the way up the thighs and 3/4 of the way up the biceps. And after that, I was like, nope. And actually, I had somebody in a support group who said they used to use an epilator on their face. After I tried it on my torso, I was like, I'm not going anywhere near my face with that, baby. Oh, heck no. So I don't know. Epilator, it's a potential. And not only that, but shaving, it just nips the hair off at the skin level. Epilating rips it out at the root level, which makes it take longer to grow back. Epilated my legs 3/4 of the way up, I'd actually get 3 or 4 days without much stubble. Kind of like cool. And not only that, but the epilator was electric rechargeable. So, if I wasn't careful and I didn't recharge it, I actually could sit in the chair by the outlet and run it up my legs. Worked kind of well, except for the fact that my stupid torso. Not only that, but epilating the boobs. Didn't even bother trying that, baby. Ooh, hello. And the other problem is my back. I grow a lot of hair on my back. Can you imagine trying to get an epilator on your back? I couldn't even touch my back really with an epilator other than the lower back because guess what? I figured out what I was past 50 and arthritis had already started to set in and I didn't have the flexibility to get my hand very far up my back. So epilating positives, better than shaving. It's a little bit longer, but still not permanent, and it can be painful. So, and again, shaving, as I said, some people who have lesser body hair growth, that's a potential. But again, body hair on the back, that's kind of hard to shave too. It's kind of hard to get I found epilator was actually easier to get a little bit more coverage on the back than razor because I couldn't get any purchase with the razor. And believe me, I tried duct tape, wooden spoons, spaghetti servers. Oh my gosh, I tried all sorts of stuff to get razors on my back. So shaving for the back, epilating for the back can be a bit of an issue, to put it mildly. Next option that a lot of cisgender women use is waxing. And believe it or not, I never tried waxing on my legs because by the time I figured out what waxing was and it could be helpful, I already figured out epilating and, plugging a electric epilator into the wall for a few cents of electricity was a heck of a lot cheaper than paying to get waxed. Because waxing, again, they put the very warm wax on you and it rips the hairs out by the root. Just pretty much the same as epilating as I figured out. But I did try waxing my back. I did it once and that cost me $50 to get my back waxed. And that $50, I realized, only lasted me less than 2 weeks. $50 every 2 weeks, $100 every 4 weeks, 13 4-week chunks to a year, because there's 52 weeks in a year. That would be $1,300 just to keep my back hair free for a year. Kind of expensive, that's kind of like more than a monthly rental or a monthly mortgage payment just to keep the back hair free for a year. Whew. So, yeah, if the money's there, waxing is a potential solution. However, you're never going to find an insurance company that's going to pay you back to get your hair waxed. That's totally cosmetic at the nail salon. And if anybody does, publish it in the comments because everybody's going to want to go there and get the insurance to pay for them. And then there's the final option for temporary hair removal, at least the final option that I discovered. Maybe there's others. I'm not going to pretend to know everything because I don't know everything. But the final one I found was chemical hair removal. And I don't want to use a trademark product name because I don't want to sound like I'm endorsing a product or criticizing a product. But there's a product that stands for no hair, and it's bottles of gel-like product that you slather over your body, and it dissolves the hair somewhere between the root and the skin level. Slather it over your body in the shower. Wait, I don't remember exactly how long. I tried it once, about 5 minutes, I think. Slather it over the wet body. Wait about 5 minutes, and you can't just rinse it off. You have to actually use a washcloth to kind of not scrub it, but rub it off. And smooth as silk. Not only that, but for the back, and this is where kudos to my dad. When he was over 80, he developed arthritis in the back of his shoulder blades, and by that point, my mom, his wife, had died, so he had nobody to put the arthritis pain relieving cream on the back of his shoulder blades. So he came up with this amazing hack. He simply took a silicone spatula from his kitchen, took it up to his bathroom, and for the next 10 plus years of his life until he passed, that I think it was a magenta silicone spatula, lived next to the sink in his bathroom and was used only to put arthritis cream on his shoulder blades. Guess what? I figured out, use a silicone spatula from my kitchen, slap the hair removal cream on my back, and then, I couldn't use a washcloth, but there's these wonderful things known as back brushes or loofahs. Oh my gosh. Bye-bye back hair, bye-bye torso hair, bye-bye leg hair. The only thing I didn't try it on was my face because there's a warning on the bottle. Don't use this on the face. It may cause chemical burns on the face. So I paid attention to the warning on the bottle and didn't use it on my face. 5 minutes later, a little water from the shower head and loofah on the back and a washcloth on the front. Wow. Smooth, silky, hair-free, amazing, freaking amazing. I was like, this is the best thing. This is actually better than sliced bread or beer. Or actually now, better than sliced bread or wine coolers. That's kind of where my thinking's evolved. But anyway, awesome, great, silky smooth. One drawback, the shower drain, would clog up with hair really quick because it wouldn't dissolve all the hairs. It would just simply dissolve the hairs under the skin level, and you'd have to grab them off. You'd have to grab globs of hair off the drain so the bathtub wouldn't fill up from the shower pouring water over you, and toss them into the trash can, but not a huge issue at all. So I was like, this is just the best stuff. I mean, $50 to wax my back, or 3 $2 bottles to not only not have to epilate, but get my torso and my back and my legs silky smooth. What a great idea. Until the next day, because guess who didn't read the second warning on the bottle? Yep, that would be knucklehead me. The second warning on the bottle states that try this on a part of your skin that's not going to hurt if you get a chemical burn, because these are chemicals. And guess what? My skin is a bit sensitive. Not horrifically sensitive, but sensitive enough to the chemicals that I developed a couple of chemical burns on my stomach, a couple of chemical burns on my rear end, a couple chemical burns on my leg. Okay, little oatmeal lotion. Again, I'm not going to recommend the brand name, but I do use the brand name oatmeal lotion because it's pretty darn good stuff. That wasn't a problem. However, the problem is all that chemical glop tends to, as you're using the washcloth and the loofah to rub it off your upper body, tends to run and pool in the area between your legs, where your legs attach to your groin. And guess where else I developed a couple chemical burns? Yep, that's right. Right where my legs attach to my groin. The chemical burns on the legs, the rear end, the stomach. A little oatmeal lotion, no problem. Walking with the chemical burns in the crevices of my legs was, yep, painful. Not only that, but how shall we say, the family jewels didn't like the chemical burn I got there either. And I realized for me, hair removal cream was like going to Chemical Burns or Us and getting a 99-cent bottle of chemical burns. And I was like, so close yet so far. So anybody, if your skin can take hair removal cream, oh my gosh, what an amazing product. I wish I could have used that stuff and not gotten chemical burns because it was awesome. But, oh well. As I said, sucks to be me. So, that was my foray into temporary hair removal. Trying to figure out how to live with it, kind of how to live with it, how to not to live with it, and slowly starting to explore the final option, permanent hair removal, which is a potentially long and time-consuming process, believe it or not. And for permanent hair removal, as far as I remember, and this is a couple years ago now, there are two options. There's laser hair removal and electrolysis. Laser hair removal is actually, as far as I could tell, slightly less expensive, slightly less time consuming, and slightly less painful. I heard that it feels like somebody taking a rubber band and snapping it against your skin, which is great. The only problem with laser hair removal is there's two situations where it doesn't work too well. The first situation is if you don't have good contrast between the body hair and the skin tone, because laser hair removal works on the fact that the hair absorbs the laser light where the skin doesn't, so it kind of burns out the hair follicle and kills the heck out of the hair follicle. So somebody with lighter colored hair and darker colored skin has a potential problem with laser hair removal. And then, guess what? There's those of us who inherited gray hair from our parents. My mom was starting to go gray at 40. Not only my mom, but her sister, my aunt, and her mom all started to go gray around 40, 45. My dad, 45, he started going gray too. Guess who started going gray at 35? Yep, that was me. I already had salt and pepper hair up here by the time I was 35. Not only that, but by the time I figured out over 50 who I was, half my body hair and facial hair was not only gray, but white. Guess what? Laser hair removal does not work on white hair, really does not work very well on gray hair either. I needed to go with the third option, electrolysis. Electrolysis now is a technique for hair removal that's been around for 100 years. Medical technique that's been around for 100 years that doesn't remove, but alleviates a condition known as gender dysphoria that is defined in medical literature, you think would have no problem in getting by insurance. But here's where a little bit of my, how shall we say, bitterness comes in. Society thinks it's more important that the insurance companies make more profit than that perverted trannies like me should be able to have our electrolysis, our 100-year-old treatment covered by insurance. Therefore, very hard to find insurance coverage for permanent hair removal. As I said, I'm just a little bit bitter over that, but thank you for letting me get that out of the way. And please don't hash me in the comments for that because, as I said, I'm just a little bit bitter. So I started researching. Unfortunately, I didn't start researching permanent hair removal until over 4 years into my transition. And I finally researched electrolysis. I researched laser and by that point, I was able to take a good look in the mirror and critically think and say, 50-50 dark and light. Laser is potentially not going to work. Probably need to go with electrolysis. So I went and found a good electrolyst, and she was very good, very gender affirming. For somebody who was over 50, I was actually pleasantly surprised because most people over 50, they've been brought up in an earlier age and they're not quite as gender affirming as younger people are, but very gender affirming, very great person. No problem in using my preferred pronouns or anything like that. And she started working on my face. She even gave me, normally the treatments were an hour. She gave me at first half-hour treatment free of charge as a test run to see how I dealt with the pain and how I felt about it. I was actually very impressed by her. And, electrolysis, I researched the costs, and it runs from about $80 to $120 for an hour session. Average, I think, about $100 in my area. She was slightly less, but I'm just going to use an easy round figure. Instead of $92.50, 100 is a heck of a lot easier to do the math on. And after a few sessions, I asked her, about how long is it going to take? I mean, the treatments under the nose, that's kind of painful. That was kind of painful for me when she was doing electrolysis, and she would spend maybe 15 minutes under the nose and 45 minutes on the rest of the face because the rest of the face wasn't too bad. But I kind of asked her for an evaluation on how long it would take because I wanted to know how much I was going to have to put in out of pocket. And she gave me an analysis that was really eye-opening. She said, frankly, for the amount of facial hair that I had and the amount of surface area, because not only did I get a lot of facial hair, but life decided to throw another little bit of fun at me. Lots of facial hair, extra surface area. I'm not average height. I'm above average height. I have an above average broad build. A little bit extra surface area. She told me it would take close to 4 years of weekly treatments to get my face really clean, silky smooth, and hair free. I was like, 4 years? That's a heck of a long time. But, and I started thinking, wow, what if somebody had told me about the potential length of time that permanent hair removal was going to take 1 month into transition rather than 4 years into transition, where I was all of a sudden looking at not 4 years, but 8 years in, I would be silky smooth. I was like, whoa, I wish somebody had told me about that. Of course, I missed the second most obvious point. And it came to me about 4 weeks later when I was reviewing my credit card bill. And I was like, hold on, $100 a week, 52 weeks a year, 4 years. We're looking at over $20,000 for just the facial hair removal. And guess what? A 100-year-old medical procedure to alleviate a condition that has been acknowledged for close to 25 years cannot be covered by insurance because it's more important for the insurance companies. I'm sorry, I wanted to say something else about the insurance companies, but I swallowed my words. It's more important for the amazing insurance companies who provide us such wonderful care because we so depend on them to make a profit rather than alleviate some suffering for 1% of the population. Sorry. Yep. Kind of angry. But anyway, $20,000 to get my face. I was like, whoa. Then I came to the next realization. Laser hair removal, my body hair was also over 50% gray. I was going to need to do electrolysis on my entire body. So I talked to my electrolyst and said, hey, I asked her to just simply look at my arms in short sleeves and based on the amount of body hair on my arms, estimate about how long it would take for me to get completely hair free. And she said, for both arms, once a week, about 4 years. And actually, at first, she didn't want to give me any kind of time estimate. And I said, look, I'm not holding you to anything. I just need to know for my analysis of where I'm going exactly what I'm looking at. I'm not going to sue you if it would be 3 years and 52 weeks. I'm sorry, 3 years and 51 weeks instead of 4 years. I just want a really rough estimate. She said about 4 years. I said, based on the body hair coverage of my arms, what about my torso? About 4 years. My back? About 4 years. I was starting to get the clue. 20 grand for the face, 20 grand for the torso, 20 grand for the arms, 20 grand for the back. And then I just went and said, what about the legs? She looked at the legs and she was like, about 4 years. Actually, she said about 5 years because I have good old thick piano legs. And I was thinking, well, a lot of women have to shave their legs. I thought to myself, what if I only go halfway on the legs? So instead of 25,000, 12,000, 20, 40, 60, 80 for the back, 15 for the 10 for the legs, maybe to knock the hair level down. We're talking almost 100 grand for hair removal. That totally blows the cost of any other procedure for me out of the water. Facial feminization surgery, that would be covered by insurance at worst 50%, maybe 15, 20 grand out of pocket. Top surgery, maybe 10, 15 grand out of pocket after insurance. Bottom surgery, maybe 15, 20 grand, depending on where I went and who I found. All three of those major surgeries total, what, 15, 10, 15, roughly 40, body hair, 100 almost. I realized body hair, depending on the genetic makeup, can be incredibly expensive for a permanent issue. And I went, whoa. At that point, I was like, oh my word. What a nightmare. 4 years and 100 grand for body hair removal. And I get it, a lot of you out there, you don't have the level of body hair I have. You don't have some of you may have the football player on each side. I have the SEC versus the Big Ten on each side. So it comes in varieties, but up to 100 grand, even for somebody who has potentially half the hair growth I do. You're looking at 50 grand out of pocket with no potential insurance coverage. Oof. Expensive and long-term too. I was like, wow, if somebody had talked to me about body hair removal, because by the time I figured out the cost and length of time involved in body hair removal, I'd already dropped 3 months into the facial electrolysis, or $1,300 for 13 sessions. And I kind of went, oof. I'm looking at a losing proposition. Not only that, but think about it. What if somebody had said to me at the start, hey, if you're thinking about doing top surgery, getting breast enhancement, that's what, and we're going to go with WPATH again, just because it's a point of reference and it's there. I'm not saying if it's right or wrong. According to WPATH, that's a year of therapy to get yourself the letter of introduction to the plastic surgeon. And then, as I understood it from a lot of people in transgender support groups who'd gone straight to top surgery from beginning their transition, that was about 1.5 years. I realized for me, 1.5 years, I still would have had another 2.5 years of that sexy maneuver called shave the boobs. Yep. I really wish somebody had mentioned the darn body hair issue. Somebody had said, look at you. What's your body hair makeup look like? Not body hair makeup. That sounds like a really oxymoron, like jumbo shrimp. But what's your level of body hair growth? What do you have to deal with? And I realized, darn, 4 years in, I'm dealing with an issue that's going to take me 4 years and close to 100 grand. So by the time I worked my way through the fact that I frankly couldn't afford 100 grand, that would mean selling my place of residence and losing half the money I gained off it to remove the body hair, and then the other half the money would be eaten up in rent over 10 years. I was like, I can't afford that. And I know there's potential charities that provide support, but again, the time issue too. I was like, oh man, I really wish that I'd have researched it way earlier. And that's what I'm trying to say to everybody out there watching this video, the sooner you look at the body hair, not only the sooner you look at the body hair issue, but the sooner you look at the body hair issue, the less gray you're going to become. If I'd figured out what I was when I was age 30, when there was no gray, laser might well have been an awesome. Actually, when I was 30, laser really didn't exist. That was the problem. So, but nowadays, somebody who's 30, maybe you save yourself some money by attacking the body hair issue when you're younger, before age starts turning it gray, because every one of us is going to lose the race against Father Time, and that hair is going to turn gray. So the sooner you get rid of that crap, the better off you are, because the easier it is to get rid of it. Believe me, I learned the hard. Even if I'd learned when I was 50, I might have only been 58% gray instead of 61% gray, so screwed. But that's kind of... So the body hair issue, I really think, actually for me, that was like between the voice and the body hair issues. The voice, as I mentioned in the previous video, that I could only train to this point, and the body hair that was so darn costly and time consuming. I wish I'd been able to face those two issues at a year instead of the 5-year mark, because guess what? At the 1-year mark, I would have only had a year of hopes and dreams invested into this. Actually, hopes and dreams and fantasies. Because guess what? Fantasies do exist in our world. And at least in my world, yeah, there's some fantasies. And there were some fantasies. And after a year, the fantasies and hopes and dreams weren't too strong. By 5 years, when I was facing these two dual realities, I realized, damn it. Actually, it took me a while to realize, damn it. Maybe at a year, it would have taken me a month to realize, damn it. It took me close to a year to get over the pain of the lost dreams and hopes and fantasies. And that really frustrated me. So as I said, this whole series of videos is kind of about things that I wish I had faced. And, I kind of look at it as maybe I'm being way oversensitive and way over, maybe I got way too involved in what I wanted. I don't know, but I'm wondering, is there anybody else out? I'm hoping that maybe I can touch somebody else out there who maybe in the second video, their voice is okay, but they have to deal with the body hair issue. I don't know, but I'm hoping that I can help somebody somebody look at things a little bit earlier, because I really feel that there are a few things that I wish I could have dealt with earlier and and saved myself a bunch of pain and angst and anxiety and suffering. So the next issue I want to go into is, again, another one of those issues that I got creamed on, but we'll go into it then. But for all of you out there, please address the issues as soon as you can. Don't put them off. Don't put off don't criticize yourself. Please, you're all amazing people. I have come to the realization that in some ways I'm amazing, even though I'm looking at myself as I record this video and I go, what a dork, looking back at me. But in some ways, I do understand that I'm amazing. And I think all of you are amazing too. And please live your amazing lives, but think critically. What do you have? What don't you have? Don't be criticizing. Don't go dumpy, lumpy. Old dog can't learn new tricks. But what do I have? What don't I have? A lot of gray body hair. Okay. So go live that amazing life. Go address what you can and figure out what you can't address. So take care and good luck and bless you all.